Hey family, how you doing? Be starting here momentarily. We're just giving people time to get on. In the meantime, I'm checking out this audio. Make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do. Good to see everybody in the chat today. Okay, what is going on with this thing? Now, do I sound all right? Y'all let me know if I sound all right. I turned the music off. Let me know if I sound all right before I put the music back on. The world? Huh? Yes. Oh. Yeah, let me know, y'all, if I sound okay on here before I put this audio back on. What? They say I sound good. Okay. Ooh. Okay. And we'll be starting here soon, okay? Yeah, I see what's going on. I don't know why this all of a sudden start doing this, but we'll just work around it. I hope you guys had a wonderful day here. I know it's the 4th and you got some people who don't acknowledge it or whatever, but it's a day off for most people. So on a day off, I hope you enjoyed your day off. Let's not be depressed over here, okay? Well, this is a non-depression zone over here, okay? Because you got folks that will use this day and be like, oh, give you 1,000,001 reasons and remind you over and over again just how evil and wicked this nation is, and you should never be out here celebrating this day. We understand that, and we do get that. I'm just simply saying it's a day off. Can I celebrate the fact that we have a day off? And if we have a day off, we should be able, let's make it productive. Okay. I mean, I don't see what's wrong with that. So yeah, so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to get into we're going to get into some history. We're going to start off our conversation here over on YouTube. And then we're going to switch over to BondTube, mybondtube.com, where we will be getting into, I'm going to do a steady stream of, it's another series that I have, that I play periodically, but I think I'm just going to make this like a yearly thing because people really need to get this. It's a very basic topic, but it's one that's very, very powerful, which I'll be getting into in a moment here. And so yeah, there you go. Let me mess around with this here. You know what? I probably have to like reset it or something. I don't know. Anyway, there you go. So I'll go ahead and turn that off in the meantime. So family, thank you so much for joining us, and so glad that you guys can make it here today. And yeah, so I hope you did something. I don't know what y'all. I'm sure someone said chilling, and someone said greetings and grilling. Yes, yeah, I was thinking about doing that, but I had other work I had to do today, so maybe I'll do it later on this week or whatever. But either way, I'm never gonna pass up an opportunity to be in front of a grill, man. Shoot, I'm for real. I do vegetables, fish, hamburgers. When's the last time I did chicken? Chicken, it's like I can do it, but what happens is it falls apart. And I know there's ways of doing it. So what I did was I got one of those baskets, and it's a way that I do it where, you spray the basket, make sure that it's non-stick, and then I put the meat on there, and then I'll grill it from there. So but yeah, so that's what I do, when I do grill. I didn't grill today though. I'm looking outside. It looks like it's about to storm here in a moment. But yeah, so look, I better get it in now. So hopefully we'll be okay today. But anyway, so glad that you guys can join us today. And if this is your first time, welcome to our platform. And we're so glad that you can join us. So today, what to expect on this broadcast? Number one, I have a mini documentary that I just finished. Yesterday, and about an hour ago. And so all this time I've been editing, and just kind of getting back into the flow of that, and just trying to, because this is something I'm gonna be doing a lot more of in the very near future. So, I'm just trying to get my rhythm back on that, and how can I, speed it up in some areas and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I've been doing that, and so I'm going to upload that video that I'm talking about, the one I just finished editing, tomorrow. But if you're watching this broadcast now, yes, you will be able to see it in its entirety. It's about 20 minutes long. And you'll be able to watch it in its entirety. So glad I was able to get that done. And then we're going to be looking at some other videos that I found found to be quite interesting. Of course, we're going to touch on slavery and, some of that, but we're also going to touch on the things that we were able to do, the things we were able to accomplish. So we're going to talk about that as well. And then we're going to get into, when we jump over to my BondTube, we're gonna get into talking about this one topic that many of our people out here that are a little bit confused on who they are. It seems that they just can't answer this question, and it has to do with food. Many of your favorite topics, okay? And so we're going to represent it again, and I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. But first, I do want to bring this up to your attention here. What we got going on over on Saba Tree. Let me see if I can find that thing there. And I did. Okay, so hold on for a second. Let me scooch this over here to the screen, and there you go. All right, so over on sabatree.com, we have a promo that's going on right now. This is our, not just a sale. This is the huge sale. The huge Saba summer sale. And on this one, you're going to save 25% off. And by the way it looks, this covers everything except the bulk items, because the bulk items, you're already getting a good discount on that anyway. So anything outside the bulk items, you're going to save 25%. This is going to be one of our largest promos of the year. All right. So that's the code right there. You see on the screen, it is Saba Summer. Saba Summer. All right. So let's just look at the site very quickly. And then, like I said, we're going to get right into it today. All right. So here you go. Sabatree.com. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed to the email so you can get the first, notice on what's going on. So anyway, so for example, the green tea cooler kit, 25% off. Now the green cup is gone, but we do have the silver one. Silver one is still in stock. You can get that. You get everything there. All right. Let's go ahead and move on here to some of the other things that we have. Many of you guys are already familiar with what we have, but this is for the benefit of those who are brand new. So that's why I'm going through this. So we have everything from chia seeds. We have dried fruit that we get straight from the continent, working with some farmers over there. And they dry it over there and they ship it and we get it. All right. So, yeah. So y'all really are liking that pineapple. My favorite really is, I think it's a cross between the pineapple and the mango. I actually like the mango a whole lot. And, it just makes you so mad when you go in the grocery store and you look at the dried fruits that they have. And why is it that they got to put sugar on it? I don't understand that. I literally don't understand. Like, okay, dried pineapple. Okay, so this is dried pineapple. We're going to put sugar on it. Now, for the few, the very few that may be out here who never had pineapple, let me just tell you something. You do not, that's like putting sugar in your soda. I mean, there's certain things you just don't need to do. You don't need to put sugar on pineapple, but they do. And they do it also for mango. I've seen them do it for other things too. You don't need it. Now, I've never had it. Don't plan to. I can understand if, you have chocolate dipped fruits. Okay, that's something different. But when you're dealing with dried fruits, you do not need to put sugar on it, with the exception, I would say, is ginger. I'll give ginger just a slight exception on that, because I'm sorry, I'll never remember chewing on some just raw ginger. You got to put a little bit something on there, but everything else, come on. Anyway, but we don't. You don't get, there's no sugar sprinkled on these. These are 100% natural, straight from the continent. And then also we have dried fig leaves for your tea. We got sea moss, bladderwrack, and burdock root capsules. So for some of you who, you want to take those things, but the sea moss is like, I get, how long do I soak it and all that stuff? You don't feel like going through all that? Well, we did it for you. And what you can do is all in the capsule. You get sea moss, you get bladderwrack, and burdock root. If you click on it, it'll give you all the benefits of that and then some. Likewise for turmeric, 50-50 capsules. What's the 50-50 mean, Dwayne? I'm glad you asked. 50% pepper and the other 50% natural black seed. So you're getting black seed, pepper, and turmeric all wrapped up in one. And that's good for a number of things like headaches and joint pain, things like that, and then some. Of course, building up your immune system. Black seed oil, of course, we have that. We love us some black seed oil over here. And then we have different food seasonings. Don't be deceived by what you see in the grocery store with these food seasonings. Just because they put a black man's face on it don't mean it's good for you. Because, they will use that, and then you read the instructions. They have everything that they can muster up and find in in whatever chemical lab that they're working on. We don't do that. It's all natural. And these things are good. They're very good for fish, for vegetables, meats, things like that. They're very good. Bladderwrack, let me say it right. Bladderwrack savory seasoning blend. We got a hickory smoked sea salt. If you're still getting that Morton sea salt, please stand up so I can slap you, because you don't need to be getting that white sea salt. Yeah, I said it. White salt. Just plain white sea salt. I mean, white salt. Okay, we don't play that over here. Yeah, we are saltists. We're not racist. We're saltists. No, we don't play that. So no, we don't go with white salt. We go with black salt. It just so happens we have some black salt, Hawaiian black lava salt. And then we have the Alea sea salt, the red Alea sea salt. And then I told you the sea salt, the hickory wood smoked sea salt. And then we get into the powders. We got all kinds of powders there. Cat's claw powder, lucuma, sorry. Cocoa powder. About that time for me to have some of that, man. Give me a cold chocolate drink. Anyway, nani fruit powder. Then you get into your coconut water powder. You got your organic baobab powder, organic dandelion powder, elderberry juice powder, soursop leaves powder. Man, I tell you, we ain't playing around over here. And then you can just go through all the rest that you see here on the screen, because we have all of that and then some. Then we got a whole section for body, an entire section for the body. And we take great pride in this because we work with many of these manufacturers, one of the main ones that we use, and we're able to tell them, in their labs, before you go in there, we got our eyes on you. Don't you be putting that extra stuff in there, the other mineral oils and stuff like that. No. This is how we want you to make it. And we're able to tell them how to make it, what to put in and what not to put in. Isn't that a wonderful position to be in? Because, so many of these manufacturers, just again, is marketing. What they put on these labels, they got a black person on there, or they got the continent of Africa on there. But in the meantime, they're putting all this stuff to make you just as ashy as I don't know what, so that you can come back and buy some more. No, we don't do that here. We want our skin to be well, you know what I mean? And beautiful like it is, and, and clean. How about that? Because don't be putting no, yeah, we got some, some body butters and stuff like that you can put on if you're a little ashy. But before you that ain't for that, okay? It ain't just for that. If you ain't drinking water like you should, maybe you need to look into that. You eating too much salt, maybe you need to look into that. If you ain't washed, you need to look into that first. Don't be putting no body butter. I'm putting some body butters on, and you ain't washed. No. We got something for you on that as well. Okay, so we got a whole line here. Toothpaste, natural toothpaste. I'm getting ready to say toothpastes. Anyway, you got what I'm saying. All right, so you can take a look, take your time, go through all of this here. We got a whole section of teas, different teas that we've been adding. We're getting ready to go. Nicole and I'm getting ready to take her over to this last year when I went over, because I think his blueberry season now. Where we can start picking some. So you may see some video of that. Blue butterfly pea flower tea. I just had some of that recently. Man, that is good. It's good. And then we got some other stuff here too. So anyway, the website again is sambatree.com. The website is sambatree.com. So said I'm salty. Yeah, if your lips are white and all of that, don't be trying to up there. Yeah, I just been praying all night and you're wet. No, you just been eating a lot of salt. Okay. And you need to stop it. Okay. Anyway, I had the great people in our company kitchen. I told them to bake something for me. And so what has been made is a hemp smoothie. I'm kind of reading off my little cue card here, all right? And in this smoothie, which I have in my hands right here, is mango, acai, hemp milk, burdock root powder, maca root powder, moringa powder, all these things we sell, chia seeds, and hemp protein powder. Oh my goodness. Or as our people in the UK, oh my days. Let me try it out right now. Let me see. Yeah, that thing pretty good. Hold on. It's the right amount too. Ah, that's good. Anyway, here are the ingredients here. So if you want to take a look at them, let me see if I can put them up on the screen here. Oh, she laid it out all nice. I hope I don't mess it up here. All right, so let me see here. Can I get it? There you go. Those are the ingredients right there. I'll read it to you one more time as soon as I can find my card. Now the card's gone. All right, here we go. I'll hold it up to the screen and tell you all these things we have here. All right, here we go. So again, in this smoothie, we have mango. Well, we don't sell mango. Acai, hemp milk, burdock root powder, maca root powder, moringa powder, chia seeds, and hemp protein powder. All of that we have in this smoothie here. And yeah, it's good. You know, I'm not messing with. I'm not lying, y'all. If it was nasty, you could read it in my face, and I would welcome you to do that. It's good. It's good. It's good. Yeah. When I eat something, if I have something nasty, you can. I'm very hard. It's very hard for me to look at it. I mean, to taste something and be like, that's good. That's why, you know, when you see some of these traveler, these food people, these foodies that travel around and they try different foods and stuff like that, I would not be good at that. Not me, because I would taste it, and if it's nasty, I say, you know what? I feel like I say, you got a napkin. You got a napkin, so you know you got to do this, and then you got to act like you wiping your mouth. Yeah, that's good. And look, you don't spat the whole thing out, and then you got to ball it up, and then you got to hold it down on your side, you know, and with the fist facing backwards so that they don't see the napkin in your hand. And then as soon as they say, yeah, child, you know, because let me go check something else out. As soon as they turn their head, you looking for that trash can. Look, you put it in a diaper bag or something. You put it somewhere. Yeah, it's hard for me to show if it's something that's nasty, it's hard for me to hide that. It's very hard for me to hide that. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm looking outside and it's like, okay, it's finally raining. Let me change something here on my camera. Hold on, y'all. There you go. Let me see. Uh-oh. I went too high. Nope, still went too high. Hold on. Okay, I'll just do with that. Okay, that's good. All right. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started here, family. So again, today's broadcast is going to be in two parts. The first part is we're going to get into just chatting a little bit about just give me an overview. We're going to get into overview of what? History. We're going to talk about our history and the importance of guarding it, preserving it, and getting it just straight up. Because what we have seen going on out here is just been too much confusion that has been intentional, and some of it is unintentional, but nonetheless, it has taken us away from who we are. And you know what I tell people all the time, and I know I sound like a broken record, but it bears repeating. If you want to know who you are, it starts in your house, and then you go backwards. You don't pick up a history book. You don't pick up a book and say, you know, I really like this character. I really like what they stand for. You know what? I'm that character. That's me. I want to grow up and be like them. That's what little children do when they're reading a comic book. But no, we don't do that. No, you don't. Your history isn't. You don't look at history like that. Your history is as simple as starting in your own home. Even in your own home right now, you are creating legacy. Wow, that's y'all see out there back there. It's starting to really pick up there. But anyway, even in your own home, you are you're starting legacy, and so that's where your history lesson begins. And so for those of you who may not be aware, when we started this platform, again, we were in Christendom. Then from there, we kind of moved away from that and got into the Hebrew space. And then from the Hebrew space, as we spent time in that and really continued on seeking the truth, who we are and just the truth, period, we began to see things in there as well that was kind of like, I don't know about that. It's not lining up with actual history. Hold on. I'm sorry. I got to get. It's not. So what I began to see, I don't really know tornado out there. Anyway, what I began to see as we start looking at the history is it wasn't translating. It wasn't making the jump to my family, my immediate family. What do I mean by that? In other words, it's easy for me to pick up an old book, open it up, read the account of all of these people, what they were like, what they did, and all this other stuff, right? And be like, man, that's some awesome people, right? And, and then not just look at the actions of those people, but their practices, because any culture is going to have their own cultural practices, right? And their cultural expressions. That is something that translates into who you are today. One of the biggest misconceptions of history when it comes to us as a people is this belief that when we came over via the transatlantic slave trade, that somehow the whips were so magical. They were painful, but they were so magical that somehow they were able to whip amnesia into us. That is not true. No matter how much they may have tried to kill us, to sicken us, to rape us and beat us and all that other stuff, we still maintained a sense of identity in who we are. Now, they may have done things to try to minimize that, but they could not eliminate it. They couldn't get rid of it. Who we are is who you are as a person. The way the Most High has created you is pretty much wrapped into your DNA as an individual. It is. When you look at, for example, I can go to places that are known for just having a majority white population. I mean, it's pretty much all white people. And then you'll come across every now and then, I've come across places like in Colorado or somewhere out west or whatever, and mostly white. And every now and then I come across a black person. And you know how it is when you come into a room or a space and it's all white people and then you see that one black person and he like, hey, you trying to pull it down. Hey, bro, how you doing? You got to do the nod and all of that. And what is so embarrassing, I'm like, no, they didn't. You do the nod. And what happens? They look at you like, hey, brother. No, they don't even say, hey, brother. They're like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, whoa. Well, you don't know the code. I'm trying to let you know who we are. I'm trying to give you, and you going like this. And he like, huh, is there something wrong with you? You need a drink of water or something? Is everything okay? And I'm like, you know what? Forget it. Now I've encountered things like that, but it's funny when you sit down and you watch people, even who have grown up in spaces like that, there's going to be some type of expression that they do or something that they say or the way they say it that is going to be something that resonates with you and other black folks, wherever we are, both near and far. It resonates, and we've talked about this even when we, because again, we want to know, you got to get down, you got to drill this thing down. So like, for example, the sucking of the teeth, when or rolling our eyes, that kind of thing. Now, someone says, see, it says it in the Bible. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We talked about that. But that is something, that is an expression that actually comes out of Africa. It's an expression that literally comes out of Africa. It's an African expression. You can see it in many cultures, particularly in the central and western part of Africa. You'll see that's just one type of expression there. But there's others as well, that you can immediately pick up on without pretty much no effort at all. And then we took a look at, and another thing with cultural expressions, of course, is music. It's artwork. We talked about cooking. We're going to be getting into that today. There's a lot of things that, despite what may have happened to us in slavery, during the whole slavery ordeal, we still retained a sense of who we are. And it doesn't matter where you may go. You could be born wherever, you still, or because it's something that's hardwired into you and who you are. It is, regardless of what culture you're in. You can't escape it. And so what we noticed is, again, when we're talking about the whole Hebrew space, was that there's this tendency to leapfrog over those cultural expressions and experiences that are natural and it just are innate, leapfrogging over that to embrace an identity where you have no receipts that you can point to and say, yes, this is me. Why? Because I express this in my family. I express that. I can see that right now in my family. I can see this. My grandmother used to do this. My grandfather used to do this, so forth and so on, right? Nobody out here, if you claim to be a Hebrew, I'm just talking Hebrews right now, but also you could say the same thing about those that are saying, I didn't come from Africa. You know, there's some people, they just lose their minds. I didn't come from Africa. I was always here. You know, my grandparents said that we're Native Americans and all of that, right? So the challenge that I put to these people in both of these groups here, be it if you claim to be native to this land or you claim to be a Hebrew, the challenge that I put forth is a very simple one. And the challenge was this. Okay, name me the recipes that was passed down that you can say is distinctively a Hebrew recipe. Name it. Hold on, let me get another drink here. Name it. Name it. Put it in the chat. If you're listening now, put it in. Put it in the comment section. What are those Hebrew foods that you used to eat? I'm talking about recipes, actual recipes that you have that was passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation. What are they? There ain't none, right? You can't find them. And I say the same thing for the people who say, I'm 100% native to this land. I never came from Africa. Okay, fine. Name me the recipes, the dishes that your family cooked. That's instinctive. I mean, it has nothing to do with Africa. It's all 100% based on this land and this land only. Name them. They can't name them. They'll talk all around. Well, you know, racism really did a number. They took away all of our stuff, and you know, and it's just, and then you start going all around the bush. Name them. Now, let's talk about those who proudly can say we came from Africa. All right. Now, when you do that, we got receipt after receipt after receipt after receipt. We can go down a whole list of seasonings that were brought over, different fruits and vegetables that were brought over, because they didn't just bring us. They also brought, because, you know, Africa was and continues to be a treasure trove of things that are over there. And we, you know, they brought slaves over, but there was also fruits, vegetables, and herbs that were brought over as well. You know, when you start talking about rice and stuff like that, we even did a whole thing. Well, you'll see it in the broadcast later on, you know, about rice. And yes, you did have wild rice that grew here, but it wasn't like the rice that came from Africa. All right. Because they were growing when they brought slaves over, Africans as slaves over here. They didn't just bring the Africans over, but they brought that rice over there, because right along the coastline there on the West Coast, you had Africans whose one of their specialties was growing rice. So that's what you see down in South Carolina, going all the way down to Georgia and all of that. And the Gullah Geechees down there and all of that. That's part of their lineage, is the rice thing. They understood that, right? But then later on, That's when they start bringing over the rice from like the Asian countries, like China and all of that, right? It was like much later on. But the rice that actually grew here in what later became the United States or America, it was just the wild rice. And they moved away from that because the wild rice it's not like the wild rice like you get today, like what is it? Rice-A-Roni. It's not like that. That's like processed. But if you've ever seen like wild rice, it's very tough. It can be very tough to eat. And so they were like, well, we don't want to use that. Let's these Africans know what they're talking about. So they brought that over. Okay. So we have all kinds of receipts when it comes to just food. And I've been asking this question over and over again, just in this area. I mean, we can get in all the other stuff. I mean, if you want to get in, well, I got an old book. I can show you an excerpt. No. History is who you are. It's part of who you are. You understand what I'm saying? You can't separate yourself from history. We are actually living and breathing our own history right now, even as we're here right now. That's what history is. History isn't you looking at a book and projecting yourself in that book and saying, that's me. There's got to be a bridge that connects you to what you're reading. I can't just look at a book and say, that's me, and that's it. But I don't have a physical bridges to connect me with that. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's got to be tangible things that you should be able to point to, put your hands on, and say, this is who we are, and I have the proof and the evidence of that. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what we do. And that's what we've done here, and we continue to do here. And that's what we're looking at. So for us here on this platform, as I begin to look at our history in its very raw form, like that, they don't connect. They don't, not to these claims that are out here. They don't connect. But it doesn't connect to the Hebrew thing. It doesn't connect. I mean, to a certain extent, it does connect to the natives of this land. It does. When you start going down into Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, yes, you're going to have the Black Seminoles. There's other groups down there where our people, who were Africans, they came to this land. And that's why you got the Black Seminoles. That's how they came about, was because you had the Maroons that were coming out of the Caribbean because they were escaping slavery there and literally were rowing their way up the Florida Panhandle. They got together with the Seminoles that were here. There was a lot of intermarriage and stuff that came about. And as a result, that's where you had the Black Maroons. But the root of Black Maroons is African, specifically coming from the Kingdom of Congo. We went through all of this in great detail. Now, some of that identity has been lost, but nonetheless, it's there. But what you will have is a lot of people on social media that will say, I'm a Black Seminole, and completely disconnect. They will embrace the Seminole part, but completely diss the African part of it. And I'm sure if you talk to real Black Seminoles, that's not how they roll. But it's these people on social media that wants to find some way to disconnect themselves from who they really are. Now, all of us, we do have some mix. We all got some mixture in us. I mean, everything from European to all these other things we have in us. But the core of who we are, I'm talking about Black folks, those of us who are Black, right, comes out of Africa. And that's not something you can run from. You may try to, but you can't run from it. You know what I mean? And so yeah, it's a wonderful history if you actually take the time to look at it. And the more that you have people out here that are running from it, the more and more things get forgotten. My mother sent me, is it on my screen? Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can find this. We're going to be doing another video, and I'm going to bring up this video that I was working on in a minute here. Maybe I just texted it to her. It's probably like a text. Hold on, I'll bring it. Yeah, it's a text. Okay, I'll bring it up on my thing here. Hold on. But she said, "Did you notice?" I was like, "No," and it's a town that's very close to where we are. It's actually a black town that was built and it's still in existence today. I think they say 4 decades before the Revolutionary War, I think it was. It's been around for a long time. It's actually a village. They refer to it as a village. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I had no idea this thing was. I may have seen the sign out of the corner of my eye, but I didn't really pay that much mind. I was like, I didn't know black folks. You talking about black folks live there? Like, that's ancient. I mean, like old culture. I didn't know. Come to find out, as I move over here, I'll bring this on the screen. In New Jersey, right here, look at all of these towns. You have 21 towns active in the state of New Jersey alone that are referred to as black communities or black towns. I'll just read it. What's on the screen here. It says the black communities on this map were established in the 19th century or before. They have distinctive names and there is evidence of the settlement. An example, a cemetery or church, school, or houses. And this is a whole list that you see on your screen here. Family, you just go on Google Maps. These towns are still in existence to this day. Now, they may not be full towns like with subway systems and all that other stuff, but it's a section, it's a slice of an area that's have a concentration of black folks who have been there for generations. And they're still in existence to this day. See, a lot of people, we want to put all the attention on Black Wall Street, but look at all the history that we ignore that's literally right all around us. And out of the 23 towns, only 2 of them failed, or 2 of them aren't nowhere. They're gone. They're not here anymore. But all the other ones succeeded. They may not be as big as they once were, but one time they were very significant. So anyway, I said, as soon as she told me that, I was like, the next day I'm going. I'm telling you, I was like, let me get over there real quick. And Nicole was like, I'll go too. I said, all right, come on. And we took some video footage and maybe I'll show you some here. Hold on for a second. Where is it? Give me just a moment here. It's on one of my drives here. Oh, yep. Here it is. I'm just scrubbing through it right quick here. And I'm going to tell you, when I was driving through this thing, those folks got some good land. I was like, hold on now. I mean, it literally, what was so funny about it was as soon as I made that left to drive into it, it was like I was transported down south. I'm serious. I'm serious. I was like, how did I get down south this quick? Seriously, it had that kind of vibe. But man, let me tell you something. The plots of land these folks are living on, I was like, whoa. I mean, and it was an old black man. He was riding on. This is right around. I mean, literally within minutes from my house. I had no idea. None. So, like I said again, I'm I took some video. I'm trying to pull up some right now. I took some video and but I'm gonna go over there. Hopefully I can find some people here. Here's some video right quick I'll play for you. This is of the cemetery, but it ain't just a cemetery, y'all. It's a lot more. Let me put this on the screen right quick. Hold on.
Remember that Timbuktu in West Hampton, New Jersey, an important.
I'm just scrubbing through it, y'all, so you can kind of see. Like, I haven't color corrected it, nothing. It's just. Okay, so I'll get out of that. All right. So but that's just a cemetery. I mean, I ain't gonna just show you the cemetery. That's it. I'm just showing you just a little bit. I'm just showing you a little bit. It ain't just a cemetery because that would be depressing. No, they got the cemetery, and you saw on that tombstone it had Louis Armstrong. That's not Louis Armstrong. Okay, he's buried down in New Orleans. I think that ain't the other one. This is the cousin probably. This is the other one that didn't make it. Anyway. But a lot of these people actually were, there's a story in this. I'm just going to tell you. But basically, one of the things that made this town famous at its time was the fact that you had, there was one particular African man who was a slave who escaped from the South up to the North. This area was known as a stopping ground, if you will, for people, you know, heading up to Canada or going out west or whatever, right? It was a launching board. And so the townsfolks, so he was hiding, from, and so the word got out that he was, that he was a runaway slave. So I think it was some people in Philly heard about it. They was like, we're going to roll up over there. And I'm like, how in the world you got to think about it. Back then, you hear about this all the way in Philly. Now, Philly ain't that far. I mean, I could drive. I'm there like in half an hour or less. It's not that far. But I got a car and I'm driving. These jokers, they said we're gonna get in our wagon. We're gonna run, or what we're gonna do? We're gonna get over there. And they came here, guns packing, and they said we're gonna get this Negro. Well, the townsfolk didn't like that. They said, you ain't getting jack, okay? And they were waiting for him. Soon as word came out that they were coming after this brother, they said, you come up in here. Come up in here. Let me try something on you. And the town folks were waiting for him and basically beat the brakes off of these jokers and was shooting at them. It was a full-scale war that they had. Ran these jokers back. And then they were like, oh, snap, we didn't know they were packing like that. And so then they came back again later on and thought that, well, we're going to do it this time. This time we're going to come correct. Oh, yeah, they came correct and then got corrected again. And again, once again, got the brakes beaten off of him, and that man was safe. Now, he later died, but he was safe. And it's really, when I tell you how fascinating this particular story is, the woods that I would like, I don't go in the woods now, if I go in the woods, it's usually like in the fall or winter when it's, ain't no bugs. I don't like stuff tapping me on my head and stuff flying all over the place. That's just not me. Okay. I'm sorry. I'll get used to it maybe at some point, but anyway, it's what I find fascinating is the path, these woods I used to walk through all the time. These are woods that these runaway slaves were walking through there. I didn't know that. Like, there's no signage at all in those woods that tell you that. Nothing. I didn't know. I literally didn't know. I know I'd be back there praying when I go back there. But yeah, they would go back there, and then they had a big old, it's something. I'm just trying to tell you, I was shocked when I went back there. It was like I was just like that, transported into another world. I was shocked. Now, some of them may hear me saying this. They're like, man, he's really going overboard. Yeah, because y'all used to that. I didn't know. I didn't put the pieces together. But it's really something. And they even got a whole section of people. If you're a visitor, you go in there. They got a whole visitor section where they outline the history of their people and all that stuff. It's really fascinating. So it ain't like some kind of like pole dunk, toe up stuff or whatever. Nah, they really took great care in preserving their history. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into that. I'm going to do a separate video on that. But I need to take a break with my editing, man, because I've been back to back. We just did the Mexico video. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see that one, but that was a long time coming doing that because I knew that was going to take a time for me to put that together. But we got that together. And we brought us some things even in that video. And we're going to be doing some more just like that. Because that's not our only trip down there. We're going to be, much later, we plan on going back there and going to other parts in Central South America as well. because again, you're going to find that all throughout where we have been distributed, you're going to find that many of our people proudly still hold on to these cultural practices and traditions that originally came out of Africa, and they've been doing it for a very long time. So if you're trying to discover who you are, if you're really trying to do that, why not start there? Why do you have to start from the reference point of a book that came from the very people that enslaved you? Why would I do that? Why not just listen to my own people? That's revolutionary in of itself, right? So yeah, that's what we're doing. And so, but again, you have, and I'm sure, like I'm showing you New Jersey, for example, but wherever state you're in or country, I have some people who are in these, that are watching us, and you're in a different country. You're going to find some fabulous, interesting history, battles and stuff that were fought there, all kinds of stuff. The map that we did, for example, the map, the Congos in America map, interactive map that we created. We go down and we look at a lot of the names of these different areas. We talk about how, all throughout the South, you're going to find, the names of towns, villages, land markers, be it rivers or streams, things like that. And we've been told, oh, those are Native American names or the natives of this land. It wasn't. When you look at, we did side-by-side comparisons between that and Bantu, and you're going to find they're too close not to be Bantu. And the definitions, we looked at the definition of the word, and what did we do? Oh, it was the name. We looked at the actual name. I'm trying to think of one down in Georgia. It'll come to me. We looked at the actual definition of the name. I'm sorry. We looked at the name. We looked at the Bantu spelling of the name, right? And then we looked at the definition of the name. All right. We talked about how, because they mentioned in this study that we were pulling this data from, they were saying how the reason why they know this is of African origin, these names, is because of the fact that they said that natives, when they name things, it tends to be named after, if I remember this correctly, it's after like a animal, or it may be named after a what was it? It's animal. It was something else too. The way they name it is different than the way we name things. People from Africa, they were saying the way we name things, it's always an event that took place there. So like it may be a place of great weeping, or it may be this, or it may be that, or whatever. And, the runaway area and all this other stuff, or, this place of gas, you'll find that. But we did videos where we actually explained all that, the difference between how these two people groups, how they name things. And it's really fascinating stuff when you start going through it. And someone that's watching now, you may say, well, how did we name things? I mean, I thought they were very racist. They were racist back then. I'm talking about the white people there. But here's the thing. One thing you can't forget is the fact that when the transatlantic slave trade, when it began, we were in the majority in these colonies. And in these colonies, it was mostly black folks in these like places like South Carolina, down in Georgia. Most of the people at one point were black folks. It were people from Africa. So even though we were in bondage, we still were in the majority in many of these cases. So for example, you had these Africans on these different plantations. Okay, well, you needed an economy, and a part of an economy is transportation or movement, moving product from one plantation to another, another. So who did they get to do that? It was the Africans that they purchased as slaves. So the Africans that they brought over were more familiar with the land and the area at that time. So they would, a lot of times, these Africans that were brought over as slaves, they would name names to these different areas, be it a river or stream or whatever. And a lot of times those names stuck. They stuck. And to this day, a lot of those names are still in existence to this very day. And so now they just, another one of those things has just kind of got lost, to ignorance, but what we're doing is we're doing everything we can on this end to go back and to find those stories, to bring those back to the surface, because you're going to find there's a lot of things that we can be and should be very proud of. We're not going to just look at the negative stuff. There's a lot of things that our people did. We did a video talking about X-Men. You remember the X-Men thing? Where we talked about the X with the circle and all that, and where that originally came from. And we talked about how there was a man, Dave the Potter. You remember the video we did on that? Dave the Potter. He was a famous potter in North Carolina. North Carolina was known for its pottery. And Dave was one that was very talented in that area. The way he used to sign, one of the ways he used to sign his signature on the pottery, he would put an X on it. Well, the X was something that a lot of Africans that were brought over slaves were very familiar with. That. What was it? The X wasn't actually an X. It was actually the Congo cosmogram. All right. It was the Congo cosmogram. And if you look at the Congo cosmogram, you'll see it. It's basically like a cross and it's like a circle or whatever. Right. We're going to talk about it in this video that I'm about to show you. And so that's what he was doing. That was something that the Congo cosmogram was something that was somewhat of a rallying point for many of the initial wave of Africans that were brought over as slaves. Yes, you had the Igbo. Yes, you had some of the other African groups that came over, much later. But in fact, the initial wave were people that came. In fact, the first official person that was brought over as a slave they were from Angola, which was at that time part of the Kingdom of Congo. And so you'll find a lot of these traces of things. I mean, maybe in your town, in your community, you may come across a street or a road or something like that, and it has like a little funny name, and you think, oh, that's some Indian name, or maybe it's someone. No, you'd be surprised. The true history of it. All it takes is taking some time and doing a little bit of investigation, and you'll find that in many cases, we have left a serious mark in this country and beyond, not just here in the United States. We've also looked in Central America. We've looked in South America as well. You'll find a lot of traces of Africa all throughout there. So I'm not going to limit myself to just one little thing, try to project myself in someone else's culture, when in fact, if I take the time and look at our culture, you'll see just how wide and expansive it really is. What do you think Hollywood gets a lot of their inspiration from, these sci-fi movies and stuff that they do? You think they just think of that stuff on their own? No, a lot of this inspiration, they came from Africa. One of the greatest films that they came out with was Avatar. Where do you think they got where do you think the inspiration came from on that? England? They went to England to get inspiration from that? No. They went to Africa. They went to places like Africa and they got the inspiration from that. So we're not even scratching the surface of the many things that the Most High has blessed us with. So this is why we made the decision. We said, you know what? Let's cut the crap. Let's cut out all this other stuff. And let's begin our journey starting with our own home. And then we're going to move backwards. And we're going to go from there. Now, what's unfortunate and what's real is that you have a lot of people out here. They have a lot to lose, if they be honest, when they come to history, when they come to our history. So they are fully invested in making things up and keeping you confused. So you have to be very careful out here, when you're out here and you're trying, because we're all trying to put these pieces together and discover things and find out who we are and all of that stuff. But that's why I tell people all the time, do your own research. And like I said, one more time, yes, you will find some blending of the natives that was in this land in our bloodline. Absolutely. And I don't have any problem in acknowledging that. Even my own last name is a Native American name, However, they've made it pretty clear to me that they won't have nothing to do with people who look like me. You understand? But I then have to look at, okay, what are my cultural expressions? What are the things that I naturally express as an individual? And by and large, my cultural expressions, for the most part, are African in origin. And so that's what I go with. I'm gonna fight the government. We're gonna fight for the right to get I ain't fight for no recognition. You don't have to fight anybody for recognition. You never have to do that. Be confident in who you are. But it begins with you being honest when you embark on this journey in discovering who you are. That's how it begins. So anyway, so moving right along. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you a mini documentary that was done by yours truly. And what we did was we actually are looking at the history of, of course, this is the 4th of July. And so there's a lot of attention at Independence Hall and what took place on Independence Hall on 4th of July. It was the Declaration of Independence that was signed. It's, that we are an independent, union, and, we are independent of Britain. We don't have anything to do with that. And we are the United States of America. So if you go to Philadelphia, even today, I'm sure there's many, many people there that are taking pictures, looking at Independence Hall, taking tours and doing all that stuff. You got Liberty Bell there and all that stuff. So there's a lot of attention there. But there's some more history that took place right behind Independence Hall that's literally buried. And we did a video on this before, but I wanted to go back and to look at this again, just with a little more detail. And not just there, we also went across the bridge, across the river into New Jersey, because there's some history over there too. And that's what we're doing. We're just going to these different spots and trying to uncover these things. So without further ado, let me go and find this video. And we're going to go ahead, and this is the world premiere. You don't even have to pay for it. Anyway, but here you go, y'all. This is, and I'm going to upload this separately tomorrow. All right. I'm going to upload this separately tomorrow. So you'll get a chance to watch it individually tomorrow when I upload it here. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and upload this. Go ahead and get this streaming, and let's go. July the 4th, 1776. The Second Continental Congress unanimously adopted the Declaration of Independence, announcing the colony's separation from Great Britain. And while history was being made within the walls of Independence Hall in Philadelphia, right behind this building, the histories of another group of people were being buried right under the soil. In this video, we will uncover some of that history that must be remembered and never forgotten. Our story begins here, the Delaware River. In 1684, a ship named the Isabella anchored in Philadelphia's port with approximately 150 captured Africans, which is considered the first shipment of enslaved Africans to arrive in the city after Penn's arrival. Between 1718 and 1804, at least 10 vessels that participated in the transatlantic slave trade docked in Pennsylvania ports carrying an estimated 1,000 enslaved Africans, according to the online database Slave Voyages. Another 103 vessels carried more than 1,400 enslaved Africans from South America, the Caribbean, and other American colonies to Pennsylvania between 1709 and 1776, according to the database. It is estimated that upwards to 5,000 Africans were sold as slaves in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. From there, they were dispersed throughout the region as house servants and field hands. While shoddy record keeping may have made it difficult for historians to track down the place of origin for these African slaves, there is a place, which we will talk about later, that provides us with some strong clues. I am here at this location. It's called Cooper Point. and Cooper Point Park, to be precise. They just recently converted this and made this into a very beautiful park. And it is this bridge that you see behind me, this is the Ben Franklin Bridge. And as a child growing up in South Jersey and in Philadelphia as well, I remember just crossing this bridge all the time. And this is one of my favorite bridges. But one thing I did not know was the history that was literally right under the bridge. And, thankfully, the state of New Jersey decided to start putting markers in place, these historical markers, so that people would remember the history that took place in these locations. Well, where I'm standing right now is a place where Africans were disembarked to be sold as slaves, right here in this spot in South Jersey, in Camden, New Jersey. And they would either go further into New Jersey, into South Jersey, or they would go right over across the river, that's the Delaware River behind me, into Philadelphia, where they also worked there as well. It's interesting because a lot of times when we talk about, the transatlantic slave trade, we typically keep in mind, in our minds, it's usually the South. But what a lot of people don't realize is that slaves were brought all the way up as far as here and even further, and worked as slaves. And so, again, they would go into Philadelphia, but they would also go into South Jersey to work as gardeners or to work as farmers, because you have a lot of people are familiar with North Jersey, that's near the New York area, of course. Then you got Central Jersey, that's Trenton. And then you have South Jersey, and that's kind of where I am right now. But this part of South Jersey is a lot closer to the city, so it's a lot more commercialized, industrialized. But there's another part of South Jersey that's still very, very rural. When you drive through it, it does feel a lot like I'm down south somewhere. Well, a lot of those farms have been there for centuries. And those farms and that agriculture that's there even to this day, it was Africans that were brought as slaves that helped lay the foundation of that. So slaves that were brought here and were sold here, Africans that were brought here and were sold here as slaves, were brought into those areas to help develop the agricultural industry here in the South Jersey area. So the next time when you hear people refer to New Jersey as the Garden State, you'll see that on every New Jersey tag, that it's the Garden State. Remember, it was Africans that helped make that possible. We were brought here to be gardeners in the Garden State.
Individuals who brought slaves in New Jersey needed a way to get their goods across the river. Enter the Cooper family. The Coopers were Quakers who, besides owning the land that would later be known as Camden, one of their main ventures was a ferry company that transported goods between Philadelphia and New Jersey. These goods included human cargo, African slaves. At least 800 slaves were forcibly brought across the Delaware River from Philadelphia to New Jersey in the 18th century via 3 ferries owned by the slave-owning Cooper family, among the city's founders. The ferries greatly shaped the region, with businesses and homes emerging around the terminals. Later on, activity on the Delaware River attracted industries such as the Campbell Soup Company and the New York Shipyard. Today, the Cooper name is still very prevalent throughout the Camden area, from Cooper Street to Cooper Medical Center, Cooper River, Cooper Point School, Cooper Point Park, and what you see here, the Cooper Free Library. Sadly, the same people that constantly tell us that slavery was a very long time ago will construct an entire community around reminders of the people who literally owned you as slaves. What is even sadder is that here we have the descendants of African slaves depending on the descendants of the Cooper family for medical care and education.
Okay, so what you have behind me now, we are standing right now right on the site of yet another slave market where they sold Africans as slaves. What you don't see is going this direction. You're going to be right at the Delaware River. This particular location, what I'm suspecting and I haven't been able to find a whole lot of information to confirm this or not, but I believe this is the case, is that the first market that I showed you, that was for the location. That location was used for Africans that were sold as slaves that went into the Pennsylvania, Philadelphia market. And then this location here would have probably been used for the selling of Africans as slaves into the South Jersey marketplace. And so just like we got Wawa's all over the place or Starbucks all over the place, well, they had branches of slave markets where they sold Africans as slaves.
Before heading over to Philadelphia, I want to read to you an excerpt from a resource that I found entitled Afro-Americans in New Jersey, A Short History by Giles R. Wright. This was a report that was put together by the New Jersey Historical Commission, the Department of State, some years ago. And if you go to page 22, it says this: those slaves that did come to the colony fresh from Africa probably contributed to the retention of African culture in New Jersey during the slave era. Certainly an African style marked the way some danced, sang, played instruments, and paraded. Well into the early 1800s, New Jersey slaves did the shingle dance in holiday festivities at the Catherine Market in New York City. The rhythms of this dance were said to resemble those of the ring shout, an African-influenced circle dance style seen in Southern black churches as late as the mid-20th century. Those of you who are familiar with our platform know that we have done at least several videos on the ring shout and its origins. The ring shout is a dance that originated out of Central Africa and is based on the counterclockwise movement of the Congo cosmogram. Independence Hall isn't the only landmark of importance here in Philadelphia. You can't create a nation without a bank. So here you will find the nation's first and second bank.
So what a lot of people aren't aware of, as you can see, Independence Hall is behind me, but right in front of me as I'm walking, there's a park here. And the name of this park, if you go on Google Maps, it will say, or any other map, it will call it Washington Square, Washington Park. But that was not the original name of it. It was actually called something else. It was called Congo Square.
Prior to this location becoming a city park, it was known as a potter's field, a place where the poor and sick were buried. With limited options of places where these sons and daughters of African slaves could publicly gather, they decided to make this place a place where they could gather to sing, dance, cook, catch up on the latest news, and yes, bury their own. But even in death, they had to protect the remains of their loved ones from medical scientists like Dr. William Shippen and his anatomy lectures right up the street at the Philadelphia College of Medicine. It was in 1825 where this space was converted to a park and renamed Washington Square in honor of this nation's first president. And while you'll find many markers honoring Washington, the markers of the thousands of soldiers, poor, sick, and descendants of African slaves are minimized. Here, I was able to locate a marker that mentions the history of Congo Square. Only free and enslaved African Americans brought a message of myrrh to this square when, according to oral tradition, they called Congo Square. One 19th century historian recorded that during fairs and holidays, perhaps as many as 1,000 black Philadelphians came here to dance after the manner of their several nations in Africa, speaking and singing in their native dialects over the sleeping dust below. He also wrote of those from Guinea, a term once used to encompass several African areas, going to the graves of their friends early in the morning and there leaving them victuals and rum. It is a very surreal feeling you get as you walk through this park. Just underneath the many who come to this park to picnic, exercise, rest, allow their dogs to potty, there are the stories of many. We must do what we can to make sure they are never forgotten.
There you go. All done. So yeah, I did that one just recently. So again, that will be uploaded separately tomorrow. I just wanted to give you guys a sneak peek of it today, and so you guys can see that. And then we got more like that coming as well, where we're going to be taking a closer look at these different parts of our history that are being slowly but surely forgotten. And like when you go through that park, again, there's other than if that sign wasn't there, you would not know. You would not know that this is a place where thousands of black folks would get together and gather, and they would sing, dance, and cook and do all that other stuff. But at the same time, it was a place where they had to, bury their dead, to bury their own as well. And so again, if you don't, if you don't ask, if you don't investigate, you won't really know. And so this is why it's on us to do these things. And so, so anyway, let me see here. What was the other thing I wanted to say about that? Because there's some other videos I'm gonna play too, short videos. But I do see a conversation happening on our sister Hamilton. I will say this though, just to add to what we've been saying and how what you're saying is really all related. And you can email us too if you like or whatever. But I will say this. Yes, it is very, how can I say? It can be very disheartening. And we talked about this this past Saba on Saturday. So if you didn't watch that video, that broadcast we did this recently on this past Saturday, I would advise you to go and check that out. Okay, because we talked about some of this in terms of really coming to terms of the fact that many of the things that we have been told is not true. It historically cannot be validated. And so we have been really going through this very slowly, intentionally going through it very slowly, because I know if you try to delve into it all at once, it can be quite overtaking, and to the point where you just throw up your hands and just want to give up everything, and there's no hope at all, and no, and that's not the case at all. That's why you got to take your time and just go through it. Some things you just not quite ready to know. And I'm not just saying you, I'm just saying just in general, even for me, so that's why I said, let me take my time in processing a lot of these things so that, I can really grasp the gravity of the situation. But with that being said, it does not leave me hopeless. I don't feel hopeless at all. I do have experience a great number of the other emotions, just as the anger, the all the other stuff that you feel, betrayed, all that other stuff, right? You feel all of that. I'm speaking on myself. But the one thing I can say is I don't feel hopeless, because as I begin to look at our history as like what we're doing here, or at least trying to look at it here, I'm seeing that what has been given to us as a people is so powerful and so let's put it this way. The fact that these people had to go through these great lengths to make sure that we are still fighting against each other, still not coming together, and still and just forgetting who we are, it tells you a lot of what they were clearly afraid of something. And so but as I begin to look into these things and look at who we are, it begins to slowly start adding up to something that I know is a lot greater than what they have written in any book. So I don't feel, so as far as the hopelessness is concerned, my advice would simply be take your time. Take your time as you're going through some of these things. And I know it's challenging. I know it can be very difficult, but hopelessness is not a feeling that you should be feeling. If you are, chances are you're probably moving way too fast. You understand what I'm saying? As far as What's going to happen to these people and then all the stuff that they done to us and all of this, what's going to happen? I can't answer that. I wish I could, but I can't answer that. And one of the points I saw I saw your comments there is, it was something to the effect, inquiring about that. But I don't worry about them. What my concern is right now is myself, my family, those that I love, and making sure that we're doing the things that we need to be doing and the things we can do. There's a great number of things that we can do. One of the things that religion has done to us as a people, it has entrapped us in this mindset where we just sit and wait. And we think that, okay, the clouds are going to part and judgment or whatever is going to come and strike down all of these people just like miraculously, just like in all the Hollywood movies. Well, have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what if that doesn't happen? Does that mean that you put your whole life on pause to wait for that? Or do you take the life that has been given you and make it the best life you can absolutely make it? There are many people out here right now that are traveling. They're going and they're experiencing a lot of new things that they otherwise would never experience if they didn't try. There's a number of things out here that can give you a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful life. One where you wake up every morning just asking, okay, what am I going to do now? And that is how all of us should be living. But what religion has done and continues to do, and particularly for us as Black people, is to keep us in this pause state where we're just sitting back and we're like, any given moment now, any given moment, it's going to happen now. It's going to happen. Meanwhile, you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, 90 years old, you go in the grave still saying that. And you got a whole life of things that you did not ever do or you didn't even try because of the hoping and the wishing. And that's what religion has done, is given us this whole hoping and the wishing thing. We're beyond that. We're greater than that as a people. And so step one is to rid yourself of the lies. And that's what we're trying to do just with all these historical things that we're doing, is we got to separate the lies from the truth. And as you're doing that and you start discovering the truth of who you are and some of the things of who you are, will we know everything by the time we leave out of here? I doubt it. But I tell you what, it starts now. It starts with what you know now and making a decision that I'm not going to play around. I said the other day, this was during our Saba teaching, I said, I am done with religion. And when I say religion, I'm talking any type of spirituality that's man-made. I don't have anything to do with it. No more. I don't care. I don't care if it was born here in the States, in Europe, or even Africa. I will look to these things to learn and figure out, okay, how did they come to these conclusions and all this stuff? But for me to fully immerse myself into an ideology that's man-made, I am getting too old for that. 20, 30, 40 years into something, and then you find out all these folks up in here got issues. You understand what I'm saying? So I have no time for that anymore. So I said, I got to start from square one. I'm going to start square one, and I'm going to begin to learn about our creator. And yes, I believe we do have a creator. And the first thing I'm going to do is I want to learn about his creation. And by learning about his creation, I get to learn about him unadulterated. I don't need any assistance or whatever. I'm just going to look right to his nature. And by that, he will lead you and guide you basically, into all truth, basically. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's where it begins, but it's a one day at a time journey. It's not one that you can just do 20, 40, 50, 80 miles in one day. Maybe some days you'll be able to do it, but not all the time. So my advice to you and everybody else as well who listening, you take your time with all of this. And this is why we're committing ourselves to looking at our history, because that's part of putting the pieces together and finding out who we are. We're done with projecting ourselves onto other cultures. It's about time we begin to embrace who we are. And by doing that, we'll begin to start figuring things out. And then as we're figuring things out, I guarantee you're going to see just how powerful and awesome our people really are, and that's where I sit on that. So
I appreciate you being here. And like I said, you can always feel free to ask away any questions that you may have. Don't feel any kind of way when asking any kind of questions, or, just expressing, hey, listen, this is where I feel, right now. That's totally fine. And I completely understand. I'm right there with you. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. There is a video. Let me see if I can find this one. This is another part of our history that I came across. Please, Dwayne, did you bookmark it? Hold on. Am I looking at history? Hold on for a second. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing. Oh, no. Yeah, I'm looking at the wrong thing. All right, watch later. Okay, let me go here. There we go. Okay, so here is another video that I came across here that I actually found out about it on TikTok. But I tell you, TikTok, man, be coming through. You hear what I'm saying with these history things, man? And I be saving every last one of them. But anyway, this is one for our family down in Mississippi area. You may be very familiar with this story. I personally was not. And I thought this is yet another example of how our people take the little that was given to us and we make it something great and powerful. So this story comes to us. It was a school. It was called the Piney School down in Mississippi. And I'm going to play this video for you. And it's about 4 minutes long. And let's take a listen and learn a little something more today. All right. So let me go ahead and get this up here. And there you go. All right. The play button.
Piney Woods School is an extraordinary place because its founder was an extraordinary man. Lawrence Jones was the only African American to graduate from the University of Iowa in 1908. After graduation, Jones set out on a mission.
He wanted to start a school for disenfranchised and uneducated African Americans. And somehow, once he had gotten up on the train to come here, he wound up in the Piney Woods area of Mississippi, along this spot.
In 1909, this spot was literally only piney woods, with an old log cabin and a clear spring. One day, while Jones sat under a cedar tree, a boy came out of the woods and picked up one of Jones's books.
The boy had the book upside down, so he realized that he did not know how to read.
The next day, the boy came back with two friends, so they could learn to read. Word spread, and soon more people started showing up. Jones then convinced the only African-American landowner around to give him that cabin and 40 acres to build his school. A white lumber mill owner donated the material, and the whole community pitched in to help the man, now known as the Little Professor.
Some of us came with a sack of sweet potatoes, some with a couple of geese, some of us empty-handed, but the Little Professor gave book learning free to all.
Jones never turned away a student, and through the years, the students helped build the school.
We built that school with our own hand, and that is why we love every board and every brick put into it.
Jones's wife, Grace, taught music at the school. Her Cotton Blossom singers toured the country raising just enough money to keep it going. Then, in 1954,
this is your life.
The school got a boost in the most unexpected way.
You, Dr. Lawrence C. Jones, known as the Little Professor of Piney Woods, Mississippi, this is your life.
One after another, the people who supported Dr. Jones appeared. And then his true legacy, his students, men and women, came to say thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jones, for giving me a good start.
And then the plea that helped Piney Woods survive.
Are there 1 million of you in our vast television audience tonight who will put a $1 bill in an envelope right now and mail it to Dr. Jones, Piney Woods, Mississippi?
$1,017,000 came in sacks of mail. Dr. Jones now knew the school would continue beyond his lifetime. He and his wife are buried near the original log cabin where some of the first classes were held.
This holds a lot of history, and DC wanted to take it, but it would take a lot of history away from the school. So we preserved it.
It's preserved for students of the 21st century, children who now come from all over the world to get an education in the piney woods of Mississippi.
Once you get here, you get to know everybody else, and it's just like family.
My roommate that graduated last year, she often talks to me and tells me Piney Woods made a difference.
Nearly all the graduates of Piney Woods do go on to college, making a difference in the world, one student at a time. From the Piney Woods School in Rankin County, I'm Ken South for Southbound.
Ain't that something? Wow. Isn't that something? That's how you create legacy. That is how you create legacy. This man gave of what he had, and from there, it grew into something that literally is touching people all over the world. And it was just something as simple as teaching people how to read. Do you not understand? And I don't think maybe you do. I'm still looking for something here. Do you not understand that we're in 2023 and you still got Negroes that it's not a matter of they don't know how to read. They don't want to read. You got folk that don't even want to read. Gosh, I tell you, I see it. I encounter this all the time. And I'll say, okay, well, people want to argue, spend all day arguing with me or whatever. And I'm like, okay, did you read this? Okay, I gave you an excerpt, but I want you to read this book here so that you can get the full context of what's being said, and then the references, everything is there. I ain't got time to read that. I ain't got time to read that, and so, so that's the challenge right now. But you have people like this dear brother that started something from really all he had, which was books and pretty much a dream, and that was it. And from there, he was able to build something that is impacting people literally all over. And so, again, that's hats off to that brother for doing what he did there. And I tell you, our history has so much of that. And all it takes is people like that. And you have people like that today. There are many people out here who are taking the little that they have and they're making a difference, in their own space. Be it, they don't have time to get on YouTube to tell you about it, or they don't have time to get on TikTok to tell you about it because they're too busy doing the actual work. And so it's things like that, little things like that, that make a huge difference. And they help us to maintain and to carry on the cultural practices and traditions that our people had when we came over, and we continue to express. We just need people to kind of help us kind of put this all together. I've done videos where we talked about how, what was I going to say? And I mentioned this earlier, and all you got to do is go places like Mexico, further down in Central South America. There are all kinds of festivals and activities that they do where they are fully embracing a lot of the stuff that was brought over. And so you need elders, you need people who are willing to do the work to preserve this stuff and to protect it, so that the next generation will have something that they can build upon, because we're always teaching our children to shoot for something. But if your footing isn't strong or solid, you're going to be shooting everything else around you. You're going to be all over the place. Like, I'm shooting for the stars. No, you shooting for me, bro. You shoot for me because your footing isn't solid. When you look at all these other cultures that are out here, many of these cultures, they put great importance in preserving history and preserving culture. And so that is what our focus needs to be, in preserving what we have and then building upon it. And so by doing that, there's a deconstruction part of it, and there's a reconstruction part of that. When you in talking about this journey, so to speak, there's a deconstruction. You got to deconstruct the lies. You got to take down the lies that have been told to you. And then there's a reconstruction, the things that have been partially built in your family. You know, you have uncles and aunties and grandparents that were off to a good start, but for whatever reason, one reason or another, they couldn't finish the project, whatever that project may be. Well, now it's your turn. So that's why for many of you, you know, you may look at yourself or you look at your children and you wonder, man, isn't that something? Whatever your child, let's say, for example, if your child has a desire to be a business owner or to, you know, do fashion or art or whatever like that, all it takes is for you to look at your own family and you'll see that, you know what? My grandfather, he was always talking about art. You know, I have my wife, Nicole, she has a aunt. She's got to be, if I had to guess, I know she's about 90. She's got to be like in her 90s. You know, this woman still be traveling. You hear what I'm saying? I ain't talking about like traveling down the street. I'm talking about getting on a plane and travel. I think she kind of slowed down now, if I'm not mistaken, but she has been traveling for a long time and very like exposed to a lot of things and very sharp-minded and everything. Well, you know, that it shows in her children. Same thing. You know, in my own family, I have an uncle who was always like saying like he was jumping from place to place and, you know, he liked to get around. He liked being outdoors. Well, that's me. You know what I'm saying? So you'll find like these old nuggets of things of who you are in your identity. They do get passed down from one generation to another. Listen to those things. A lot of times when your children express an interest in a particular area, they're not just getting that from the internet. Do you think the internet is giving all these ideas and dreams and hopes? No. They may see something on the internet, they may spark something, but the thing inside of them was already there. They just need to see someone that was starting to do it. And then all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, I could do that too. There's many of us are awesome storytellers. Awesome storytellers. You come from a lineage of people who were just that, love to tell stories and very descriptive. We got folks that will have you laughing so hard you'll be in tears. So but what have we done? We have surrendered that to the entertainment world and think that, oh, it's just the comedy world. No, you got uncles that will never make the stage with Steve Harvey and all these other people. Man, they just be in the corner somewhere, be talking something. I had an aunt, she would say stuff so fast. You know, people say stuff and they'll be so funny. I don't think they realize they're funny. They'll say, they talk real fast and you laughing at that. And then they done moved on to 5, 6 other things. And they're like, and then finally they'll catch themselves. They're like, what you laughing at? And it's like, I'm trying to catch my breath from what you said 3 minutes ago. And they say, oh, you laughing at that, huh? And then they'll go back and redo and tell you the whole story about that. So you got folks that are like that as well. So this is what I'm saying. All of these things, wonderful things that we have in our culture that are beautiful and are wonderful and are so awesome. And these are things that we should take the time to investigate and to discover, and we can build on those things. And by doing that, we're going to begin to see the hand of our Creator and get some idea of what exactly what he had in mind when he made us. We'll begin to see that. And so yeah, so let me see if I'm gonna see if I had another video. I don't think I had another video. I think those were the main things I was going to show today. Oh no, I have another one. This one here, this is from Professor Marco Polo. Wow. Marco Polo Hernandez. He is in, I don't know if he's still in Temple. I didn't know he was in Temple, but he is a professor and he is talking about, you know, the African influence down in Mexican culture. And so I want to play just a little bit of that. Okay. And he's going to do a breakdown of some of that. So let me play that as well. And you get to hear what he's saying here. You know, don't just think here in America. I mean, our culture is expansive. Do you guys understand, like in the video that I did just recently about Mexico, I talked about all of these mountains that have African names throughout Mexico and Central South America. Yes. So you're just playing. You're just making stuff up now. No. I'm talking Cerro Congo in Colombia, Cerro El Congo in Nicaragua, Volcan Congo in Costa Rica, Congo River in Ecuador is a small river, Cerro El Congo in Mexico. We have Congo, another, I think it was a small river in Panama called Congo River. And then in Japan, there's actually 2 mountains named Congo. 2 mountains, not 1, but 2. I'm trying to tell you something, y'all. See, you're thinking too small. You're thinking too small. Don't think too small of yourself. As we begin to uncover, there's a reason why this book called the Bible left a lot of stuff out. And we talked about this, how the Bible, everything takes place on the stage, on a Mesopotamian stage. Everything. Once you understand that, then things will begin to start adding up. Everything takes place in a Mesopotamian, what we call today Mediterranean stage. Everything takes place there, which means that there's a whole lot that was left out in terms of cultures, what cultures were doing back then, with the understandings that they have, the things that they were doing. When you start going in, just say the Aztecs, when you start studying even with them, some of the technologies and stuff they had going on even then, I mean, a lot of these people were way ahead of this stuff. See, these people, Europeans, what they want to do is get you focused on, they were doing human sacrifices. That's all they were doing. They were just doing human sacrifices and cutting heads off. Yeah, you had some people that were doing that, absolutely. But Europeans got it going on like that too. So, but they don't want us to focus just on that now, do they? When you start looking at some of these other cultures all throughout Africa, I told you there are kingdoms that are thousands and thousands of years old, that even predated Egypt. But we don't hear that, do we? They don't mention our Africa like that. We have to kind of shoehorn some of Africa. Well, I think they're black in there, and I think we got to shoehorn. Aren't you tired of shoehorning yourself into somebody's narrative? I'm tired of doing that. We got to always try to shoehorn ourselves. That's why I listen to these Negroes out here talking about, no, we don't, the natives of this land, and you just shoehorning yourself into somebody else's culture. No, that's their culture. I'm not sitting up here saying that we didn't, we're not blended with them and all that. Yeah, we were. But we don't have to shoehorn ourselves and try to completely annihilate them so that we can kind of say, this is my identity. You don't need to do that. Why? Because you're thinking too small. You're thinking too small. But again, I know there's some people out there, but what is it? You trying to get to the finish line. Family, I'm not at the finish line. I'm just like the name of the channel. We're journeying. We're on a journey of discovery of who we are. And we're going to stay on the journey. And while we're on the journey, we're going to enjoy it. We're going to take our time, and we are going to live our best life. Do you hear what I'm saying? For some of you want to, do some traveling. You want to taste some new foods. You want to travel, do different things that you never tried. Do it. But Bill Gates, they're poisoning the food and all that. That's why I'm like, y'all, I look at some of these channels. There's some channels I'm even subscribed to. I'm like, oh my goodness, is there anything positive going on in your life? How many other people do we got to talk about and expose? How many? What's going, is that it? That's the pinnacle of your life, tearing someone else down. The pinnacle of who you are and your existence and your identity is tearing someone and exposing somebody. That's the pinnacle. That's it? You telling me that's it? All of my life, that's the pinnacle of it. That's it. I ain't got time for that. You know what I'm doing? I'm going to the gym, y'all. I be on that Stairmaster. I'm going like this. I'm saying, yup, I'm doing this. And then if I can get a video up there, I'll put a video up there of someone up there skiing and doing. I said, that's right. One day I'll probably do that too. You know, I'm going to the gym. Then after that, I said, okay, let me get, you know what? Let me start doing some video. Let me get back to my photography. Okay, what do I need, this or that, whatever. And just finding different things, not just to stay busy, but to stay sharp. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because in this journey, you got to be fit. Do you understand what I'm saying? Not just fit just physically, even though that's important, but also fit in mind. And by being fit in mind and your body, your spirit also too is got to be sharp. But you got to get these other things done first. But there's too many people out here. I'm sitting out here listening. It's just depression after depression after just, we gonna talk, who we gonna talk about tonight? Who we gonna tear down tonight? I'm like, is that it? That's it. So I'm pleading with y'all, for those of you who are watching, there is much to celebrate and to discover when you start looking at your history. And not just here in, just in your immediate family, but go beyond that and start looking. And you're gonna see a lot. I don't even, and I know for me, a lot of times when I look at Africa, for example, the present day Africa, you do see a lot of the problems and the issues and stuff that's going on over there. And that can be very disheartening too. And then, you got Africans that are saying some stuff about us and then we saying stuff about them and all that stuff. What I would encourage you to do is don't even get involved in any of that, okay? Don't get involved in any of that stuff, because the few knuckleheads that are out here saying stuff about them and us saying about them, listen, they're very short-sighted and they don't have, I don't need to hear anything they got to say. What my focus is enjoying the journey, enjoying the process. And because that's really what life is all about, is for you to enjoy it the best way you can. Yes, we got a lot of problems going on. Yes, there's wars going on. Yes, we live in a government that hates black people. Yes, we live. All of that is a yes. But even in the midst of that, as I look at our history, I see that despite all of that, our people still found a way to find some enjoyment. What I just talked about in that video that I played earlier. You got black folks in Philadelphia who were limited in the places that they could go to celebrate, to fellowship, to have a good time. You know where they ended up? On top of a graveyard. Now, come on now. They and on top of a graveyard having cookouts and dancing. Come on now. And them people said, them white folks, they said, you having too much fun here. We're going to change this whole thing. We're going to call Washington Square. Now y'all get out. Because we took even the little that they gave us and we was able to flip that around and make it something memorable and make it something that we could just, it was a joy to be there. This is what I'm trying to tell you. And that is the part, that's what I want to capture for myself. Despite of all this other foolishness that's going on, I want that part of my history where regardless of what's going on and, Biden and this and that or whatever, I can still have a sense of, what? I don't have this or that or whatever, but you know what? I can still make something of what I have right now and be good at it and enjoy the process. And that is this is why they want to disconnect you from your history, because when they disconnect you from your history, you lose that. And then you fall in line with everybody else who's all grappled in fear and confusion. And I don't know what I'm going to do and all this other stuff. No, see, black folks, they done beat us, they raped us and all that stuff, and we still be over there singing and dancing and having the best time of our lives. Yes, there's a lot of pain that we're dealing with, but at the same time, we found an exit. We found a way that we could reach into ourselves, so to speak, and find a way to say, you know what, we got to let that go. Meanwhile, the other man, they're still trying to figure out how to do that. So what did they do? Right down the street from that spot where Congo Square is It was the first hospital of the United States. It was the Pennsylvania College of Medicine, School of Medicine, I believe it was called. Nicole and I went there too. We did a video on there. And basically what they did is that this is the birthplace of the medical system. And they came up with all these pharmaceuticals and stuff like this. I was listening to this young black girl on social media, and she was talking about how she was diagnosed with depression. And I thought about this. I thought about this. I said, you were diagnosed with depression? Not that, understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying depression isn't real. Don't go there. Depression is real. But why do I have to go to a person in a white coat to tell me I'm depressed? I think you would kind of know that. And the person asked her, and they said, well, did they give you some medicine, some pharmaceuticals? And she said, yes. Oh, this was a young lady that's homeless. That's what it was. I'm remembering now where I saw this. She's homeless now. Well, gee, see how that worked for her. And so she was diagnosed with depression. So what this system has done is develop ways. That's why they got all these different pharmaceuticals out here to try to duplicate what's inside of you. They can't do it because, see, the Most High he's too complex. He's too far greater than that. They trying their best to say, well, how do I get someone out of depression? Or how do I get, well, we're going to come up with this. Let's come up with this. They can't do it. There are natural ways that you can, be relieved of depression. There are natural ways that you can do that. There's decisions that you making better decisions. It's not simple. I'm not saying it's simple and easy. Don't get me wrong, because some people, they suffer from depression for something that happened umpteen years ago that was from some situations, so I'm not saying it's easy in every case, but what I am saying is you don't need their stuff. And when you think about our people and what our people went through historically, the hell and stuff. I mean, you talking about literally walking off of plantations. Now, I'm sorry, a lot of us have some bad days, but I don't think any of us can talk about, well, the other day, Massa beat my behind, the other day and raped my wife while I was looking. I don't think any of us had that kind of day. You understand what I'm saying? But yet, even with that, our people were still able to kind of put things together and make it through. You understand what I'm saying? Because all we had was the legacies and the traditions and the cultural practices and an understanding that we do have a creator that's above all, and how do you get to understand who he is by understanding his nature. They understood that connection that we had as a people to nature. That's why at some points here in the United States, they outlawed black people from foraging, because black folks stopped going to their doctors and we started going back to what we knew back in Africa to get what we needed so that we can be free from depression and all this other stuff. So we were going out there and we were foraging. We were finding the medicines that we need in his nature. We were not going to their churches and having someone lay hands on us and declare that you don't have a headache anymore and you still have a headache. No, we said, you keep that. We're going to go out here and we're going to get what we need. And then you want to still do that, you go ahead and do that. Prayer has its place. Don't get me wrong. But our Creator has still put things out there for us to know about so that we can get what we need. So it's a lot, family, for us to begin to discover. That's why we do. So this is why we do what we're doing here as far as this history thing. And we try to do this once a year where we just have a long broadcast where we're actually just going through our history and looking at these different things. And yes, I do have to sit here and talk and run my mouth a little bit, because I want to talk people through this so that you can really get the gravity of this. We're in a wonderful time. I don't care what these fools are out here doing. Well, don't you know they spreading that? You know what? They're going to do it again. I heard they were getting ready to do it again. They're going to cut the power off. They're going to cut the internet off. Okay, well, let them do it. And then what? You better make sure you got your stuff together. You better make sure of that. Okay, make sure of that. And then that's it. You'll be fine. You'll figure it out. You come from a long lineage of people who had nothing and figured it out. So all of this mess that they're talking about trying to do and they're going to do again, family, listen, they done do it. They're going to do it again, whatever. But in the meantime, you are literally sitting on a gold mine of experience from your own lineage and culture that you can learn from, and you will never learn it by trying to project yourself into other people's cultures. You'll never learn it. You'll never learn the lessons. You'll never be able to carry that to your children so that they can learn how to do it themselves until you stop playing games and begin to start embracing who you are. And that's what we do. That's what we're trying to do here. So it's you know, the journey part, it can be very disheartening at times. It can be very troubling. It can be disappointing. You know, you're going to experience those things. I'm just going to tell you straight up. But the other side of it, it's it's very rewarding because, you know, to feel and to know that you're in a place where finally I'm starting to get some clear answers on some of these things. And I feel the release to be and to do what I know I'm created to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're going to continue to do here. So anyway, let me play this video here. This is a gentleman, again, it's a professor. He's talking about, you know, just giving some brief history of Afro-Mexicano history. And we'll just close out with that. And then we'll take a short break. I'll look at the clock and see what time it is. And then tonight, what we'll do is we'll play a few videos. There's a series that came out some time ago that features the legacy that we left behind and continue to carry on to this day, just in cooking, you know? So we're going to show that. So anyway, and you can feel free to come in and look at that if you like. That's going to be over on mybondtube.com. So let me go ahead and switch this back over, and then we're going to take a listen to what this brother is saying. All right, let's go.
Part European and mostly indigenous, and that the very little bit of African genes that we had disappeared through this mixing. Interestingly so, the reason given was that African genes were recessive. So the idea that in Mexico there is no African legacy has been my lifetime challenge, to prove that Africa is in the daily routine of Mexicans, not only Mexicans who look black, but also of Mexicans who look white. Africa is more than a color. Africa is more than a race, particularly now that we know that races don't exist. But the legacy that Africans, this is anywhere from 300,000 to 1 million Africans were brought to Mexico during the colonial period. And they did not come empty-handed. These folks were already mature, anywhere in between 15 and 22 years old. Those were the ages that the slavers preferred to capture young people. That was the age they preferred to capture these young people. And when they came to the Americas, they came already with a culture. And they brought along systems of belief, ways of dealing with the environment. They had a wealth of knowledge. So I've dedicated most of my time at uncovering things such as, for instance, the arrival of rice. This is one of the most interesting things, and I talk about rice now because I'm also into food, I'm a chef. And rice, we had thought that rice came from Asia. It was really easy to think that because there was contact in between Mexico and Asia through what the Europeans call the China Galleon, which in reality were various ships that arrived for 200 plus years to Acapulco from Manila. But the rice was not brought that route. Actually, in revising some papers of the Cortés some of the first meetings, I found a sack of rice with 4 grains of wheat. Spaniards were not interested in the rice, they were interested in the wheat. But I became interested in the rice. I was looking at what the Europeans or everybody else don't look at. And sure enough, that rice was there for a reason, and it was there to feed all of those Africans who were erased from the picture. We're talking about the very first arrival of the Spaniards into the mainland from Cuba. They had sacks of rice because they had to feed the people, the Africans who were along with them. Now this rice was purchased in the west coast of Africa when the enslaved people were being purchased to feed them across the ocean. But rice is not the only thing that Africans brought to Mexico. Some of the drinks that we have, the national drinks, 3 national drinks, are teas made from what is called Jamaica, which is known as Bissap in West Africa, and the other one is tamarind, which is called as Ruja in West Africa, and of course the rice water that comes from the same rice that now I know it came from the Casamance area. But what's really interesting is that not only our drinks, not only the rice, but even the way we serve the stews reveal a very deep African imprint in our culture as well. So in general, that is what I have dedicated my life to rediscovering our African heritage and making that heritage visible for Mexicans and everyone outside of Mexico. This is very important in a time of global interchanges.
There you go. So this is all part of culture. Culture comes with all of that. Like in this particular case here, where he's talking about food, for example, that's what culture brings. So when you're listening to these Hebrews out here who are wanting to suggest that that's what you are, you have to challenge them on this basic question. This is just one of many, but this is a very basic one that I think everyone can relate to. What cultural expressions can you point to in your household that trace back to this culture here, this what you call this Hebrew culture, that trace back to that? In other words, you're talking something that's, allegedly thousands of years old, and what expressions do you have? They don't just poof and disappear. In the meantime, you and I can point to many examples of our culture, of cultural expressions that come out of different points of Africa that we are still expressing consciously and unconsciously to this very day. That's just been an everyday part of our lives. And that's something that we should be very proud of. But that's just food. That's just the beginning. It gets into a lot of other things. So again, it's quite fascinating when you start getting out here and looking at these things. And as you do that, I don't have to take over someone else's culture. You understand what I'm saying? I have full respect for, people in, Central and South America, the natives that were there. They had their own unique culture. And what he's talking about is when the Africans were, came over, they came over as slaves, but that's mainly what he's talking about. But there's also signs that Africans came even before that, and then we weren't slaves. So there's some signs of that as well. And, but again, it just takes a lot of time to really look at that. But you don't have to take over someone else's culture. Same thing with the natives that were in this land. They had their own culture here. And so, and that's something that they should and continue to celebrate. And they should do that. So likewise with us, what I'm saying to you is the things that I'm coming across and I'm discovering, we will be fools just to stay on the slavery thing. When you start going back, the more and more you start digging, you start seeing just how expansive and how much of an impact we've had on many of these areas. And that's why I said you just got to take your time and enjoy the ride. And that's it. So that's what we're doing. And that's it, family. I mean, there's a lot more I can talk about and share and discuss, but I don't want to talk your ear off. But so what we're going to do right now, I'm looking at the time right now. It is 6:17 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time what we'll do is over on mybondtube.com, I'm going to broadcast. It's a series that is on a particular platform. I'm not going to even mention. I told y'all we keep that on the L down here, on the low. And I'll show a few episodes of this series that really delves into this, the history of, in this area of food, and that really shows, just how much of an impact that we really had when it comes to culture and the culture that we brought over. So anyway, that's it, family. That's all I have. I hope you guys got something out of this broadcast. Remember, I will have the little documentary that I showed. I will upload that tomorrow right here on YouTube. So, just as a separate thing. And make sure, if you haven't seen it already, make sure you check out that this part 2 of our Mexico trip, and the part 1 for that matter. You can check that one out too. And I think that's it, family. That is all. Not that one. They flagged me on that one. I'll do that one. All right, family, listen, that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care. Remember, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on mybondtube.com. We're going to have some things we're going to show over there, okay? Take care. Love you. Take care.